Good morning, everybody. Today I got a really good special recipe for you. I'm going to show you how you can ferment your own dill pickles at home. It's extremely healthy, way cheaper than the store, and they taste like really nothing like you've ever had unless you bought the fancy ones out of the cooler. Okay, you're not going to need a lot of equipment for this. Now you will need two 1 liter wide mouth masons. Now I use the Pickle Pebbles because I like them. If you can use some other weight, because you've got to keep the pickles under the solution, because it's what they call an anaerobic process. The fermentation happens without oxygen. So if there's a lot of air in the jar, the pickles will spoil and you'll have to toss the batch and start again. So, and you know what, considering these are like whatever, $8, $9, $10, depending where you shop at the store for like a jar smaller than one of these, it's a good investment over time. Now for the top I'm using the Pickle Pipes, which is a one-way valve. You can manually use normal jars and burp them once a day, but the pressure will build up, and if you go that route and you don't remember, the jars can explode. Okay, which is another reason you keep them in something like this. Because even with all the proper equipment, the fermentation produces a lot of gas and there will be some spillover. And I've got 15, they come in 15s of these mini cucumbers, which are just the right size. And for the seasonings, I've got some pickling spice, dill, bay leaves. Now the bay leaves have tannins, which will make them extra crispy, which is just great. And I put in some garlic. And you can do whatever other seasonings you want, but I found this is a really good base to start, and these come out every time. Now what's important for this is all the equipment should be washed by hand with soapy water and just rinsed. You don't want to boil these things, okay? Because they're going to ferment at room temperature, and you don't wear gloves either because you're looking for the lactobacillus, which is pretty much everywhere. And these ones, if you notice, they're just a little bit kind of dusky. That means they've got bacteria on the surface, which is a good thing. So what you're going to do is I'm going to rinse these, but I'm not going to scrub them. And do not use any of that vegetable soap, if you know which one I'm talking about, because that will strip them so clean that the ferment will probably not take place. There's two key ingredients I did not lay out. Okay, the salt. I use Himalayan pink salt, and I use spring water that has 0 chlorine. This is very important, okay? Do not use table salt. Do not use regular salt like sodium chloride, because the chlorine ions in the water or the salt will inhibit the fermentation process and they'll just go wrong. So Himalayan, and you can check on the side of the label. It should actually say 0 chlorine on it. Make sure you buy that type. First thing to do is make the brine, and for that you're going to need 4 cups or 1 liter of the right kind of water. 3 tablespoons of the pink salt will give you the correct concentration. And the salt you cannot mess around with, like, oh, I want low salt pickles, because if the brine is not right, the pickles will go bad. And if you do find these too salty, when you're finished, you can always rinse them off before you eat them. Just stir that up and set that aside. Next, what I do is I get my jars ready, put the spices in first, and I chop the garlic. Now, this is all mixed up. You don't even have to try to get you know, so many types of berries or whatever. Now you'll notice these little broken pieces in here are bay leaves, and they do make some crispness, but not enough, I find. That's why I put more, because I like them extra crispy. And I did try more pickling and it just came out overpowering. So yeah, 1 teaspoon is more than enough. And I did many experiments for this before I hit this one that works every time. And you know what? I wasted a lot of time on farmer's market cucumbers, because even though they were, quote, all natural, my batches always went bad. And I had the same misfortune when I used dill weed. So I go back to hothouse cucumbers and dried dill, and it comes out every time. So a couple of bay leaves in each one. Two cloves of garlic, fresh in each one. I use the organic. Now, while I'm trimming here, yeah, I did try the dried one. You know, figure see if it could work out. And guess what? I guess that nasty garlic that you buy at the store, well, they dry it out and put it in those packages, because one of the jars turned out and one of it failed, and I used exactly the same thing, so now I just don't take chances anymore. Now, there is a lesson here, okay? When you get the garlic, make sure you always buy fresh. Now, one of them had a big black spot. I just tossed it and got another one. This one is slightly so what you can do is, because it's such a big clove, just cut that off and examine it very carefully. If the inside is clean, you can use it. If it's like going in, just get another clove, because you don't want to do all this work and find out your pickles are spoiled because the garlic went bad, you know? So then you're going to just going to slice this very fine. The thinner you slice it, the more surface area and the more garlic flavor is going to be in your pickles. And if you want to mash it and chop it, I don't know what happens. So I put that in the jar. Do the other one. Okay, we're set to go. Now, provided your cutting board is really clean, what you do, and this is a trick of mine, because I tried doing this standing up, and what happens is all the pickles fall over. Okay, and then you get near the end and they're all like pickup sticks and you can't get any in and they start breaking and whatever. So what I do is I just lie them in sideways, works like a charm. Okay, now one thing that's very, very important for this, you're going to have to trim the ends, okay? And if there's any part that's mushy, you might want to go further down, because you don't want hollow pickles like this part, okay? Because they do turn out, but they tend to go mushy really quick. So cut the ends off the pickles and just slice it right down the middle like you're chopping wood or something. Take a look, make sure they're good, and just put them in the jar. I always find it easier to just do, like, you know, one for you, and that way I don't have to keep track. And what you have to really watch out for is mushy pickles. First of all, mushy pickles taste terrible, and if the cucumber is mushy going into the jar, trust me, it'll ruin the batch. So I got all the pickles in the jar. Now, the last ones may need a little tamping, or you can bang the jar upside down, and you can see how jammed in they are, and that was with on their side. If you were doing those standing up, you'd be losing your mind by now, because you'd be having a real hard time getting it. Now, if the seasonings are all in one side, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now you're ready for your brine, which, by the way, is what they call a super saturated solution. It has got as much salt as the water can hold, so some of it will go to the bottom. You can try to stir in a bit more right before you pour it in. And this has got enough headroom that what you do is you pour it up basically to the bottom of the lip. That didn't have time to settle, but I'll just stir it again on principle. Now you get your weights. Pop those in. So you see the amount of solution go up when I did that. Now, one more stir. And don't worry about your cutting board. Clean this up after. This is really key. Do not leave any headroom, okay? So you're just going to top this right till it reaches the top. Do the same with the other one. Okay, like, don't leave a 1/4 inch of air hoping the ferment pushes all the oxygen out. You know, give yourself a leg up here. Okay, so that one actually could use a little more. That's what I mean. You can, like, wipe off your cutting board after, eh? There we go. So then you're going to lay on your pipes, or whatever weight you're using. Or sorry, I mean whatever. You can use different types of valves for these as well, or just burp it. And in which case, if you were going to just use the regular, you just get the canning lids and put that on top instead of these. Make sure your rings are clean as well. I do these in the dishwasher before. These won't be interacting with the pickles, so you want them super clean. Now, what you want to do is you want to hand tighten them, but not so much that you can't get it off, because there may be some leakage down the sides, what doesn't come through the pipe up here. And if it's too tight and it's salt encrusted, it's just going to be a misery to get off later. Get your pan, whatever you're going to use. I just use a good old-fashioned cake pan for this. Now I'll get down a bit. I'm going to leave them in this pan in this spot. This is out of direct sun, which is also very important. And I'm going to take a picture of these every day for the next 6 days. And then I'll open one up and you can take a look at them. Okay, so it's later in the afternoon. Let's take a look at these. Now I've got a spoon here as well. In the off chance there may be a bit of mold at the top. That happens sometimes. As long as it's not through it, you can just spoon it off. So just take the top off, and good. We just have dill. There's no mold. That's awesome. So I'll just take out the weight and try one of these. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. That's a crunch. And these are room temperature, okay? They get even tastier after they're refrigerated. So I'll check the other one. And you can notice like a lot of the crust came out. And you can see the bubbles coming out. That's the fermentation that's still going on. When you put them in the fridge, that's so salt crusty, I'm going to have to rinse it. Okay, so I finally got that loose. Yeah, this one's just fine. I'll check one of those too. Got to do a taste test here, eh? See, that's what that pan is good for. And you can see all this goo that's coming off is actually the fermentation, which has got all those super good bacteria for you that you cannot get in regular pickles. So let me just try one out of here. Get close for the crunch there. They're just great. Okay, so I'm going to pop some clean lids on these. Rinse the salt off those. Pop these in the fridge. Okay, these will continue fermenting in the fridge, slower, and honestly, unless they grow some funky kind of mold, they just keep getting better. Usually I eat them within a couple of weeks if they last that long, because they're really good for you and they taste great. So that's how you ferment your own dill pickles at home. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again.